And we are recording. What's up, people? It's your boy. You feel? I don't know. I have yet to have a decent intro to these podcasts. So, of course, it's Aaron
Yeah,
here,
I think we can tell.
and my co-host Farrel is here as well. So
Hello,
say what's up first, Farrel.
what's up? How you guys doing? Good, great.
And we have a special guest for our 11th. Finally, man, something that I can keep consistently. 11th guest. I mean, for
Woo.
the our guest for our 11th episode, my man Stevie Nino. What's up, Stevie?
What's good, people? How
Woo!
y'all doing? Hey, 11 is one of my favorite numbers.
Yes,
There
I
you
sir.
like
Yes,
go.
that.
sir. So,
That's
uh,
the jersey I rock.
a little bit of background as to how Stevie and I met. I know Farrell hasn't met Stevie yet, which is a
hmm
bummer. And the hows of how we met Stevie and I, we met on Wish USA because they were a guest, him and a few other people from the organization Music for Your Mental Health, and that's how I got to know Stevie, and that's how my mans and I have connected, and now we're shooting this podcast. So Stevie,
Awesome.
just give us like a quick elevator pitch as to who is Stevie Nino.
Wow, that is a quick. Let's see. You know what? It's kind of complicated because I'm a man of few words, yet man of many actions.
I like
So I
that.
guess I can start. Let's see. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, uh, born and raised in Compton, California. Definitely just want to give back to Compton, give some love to Compton, California, that is. Let's see. I do that as well. I also do a side gig for the government where I write clinical assessments for people in skilled nursing facilities, mostly elderly people. And I'm also part of the Guidance Center, which I'm in a program. I'm considered a trauma-informed consultant, where I stick strictly to educating teachers on how to be trauma-informed and dealing with some of the kids in the inner city communities. And so, along with that, I got private practice, which is very small. I have a few clients. On top of that, I have music for your mental health, which we are doing our pilot for, and we having our last session this Friday in the studio, which is going to be awesome. And I'm part of a great team of musicians and other therapists, just trying to bring music for your mental. So, whew, yes,
Wow,
that is
that is loaded, man.
that is my lifestyle. So I'm busy pretty much 7 days a week and maintaining my newly found marriage because I got married 6/11/2020. So
Wow.
um, yeah, and
Congratulations,
keeping her
bro.
Congratulations,
happy
man.
is keeping her happy. Thank you. Keeping her happy is probably the most important thing out of all the things that I do right now. So
That
um,
is great, man. That is so great.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Um, so go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question for you, right? Because I'm really intrigued by this music for mental health type thing because I know that there's kind of music therapy and all this stuff, right? But I've never really seen it or gotten into it. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I've actually done research prior to getting into music for your mental health because I actually want to see was there some type of certificate I can earn to make sure, that I can be that have that qualification and I can be certified. But when you look deeper into music therapy, it's literally people in a circle and somebody playing a guitar and them kind of just letting the music come to them. Whereas what we're creating music for your mental health, people are able to not only listen to music and get insight and feeling, but it's more of them being able to have the power to create. So they are creating their own music through their feelings. They're creating lyrics. They're producing beats. I just remember like our last session that we had on Friday. One of the kids came in and he had produced a whole new beat to the song Survivor by Destiny's Child. He created it and put like more of I guess, uh, a rap scheme to it where you can actually rap to the beat. But he just only produced it. But we thought it was just so amazing. Like, where he took the song and the creativity he put behind it. So that's the whole idea of music for your mental health. Not only that, we're building communication skills, we're building social skills. More teamwork projects are in the works for music for your mental health. So we're doing a lot with that, trying to make it more suitable for our teens who are at risk out there, and doesn't have like that guidance. And so I can say that, we are all black owned right now, which is cool, which is kind of like a movement, I guess. But I take pride in that we are all connected that way. But we are, of course, including everyone because everyone needs this program. It's not necessarily justified for Black people, but everybody needs music for your mental health because music is a universal language that communicates like to the soul, no matter what skin color you're in. It communicates to whoever you are.
Yeah, and I feel as though it's extremely important that you guys have developed this organization and this movement of music for your mental health. And now, especially when we're dealing and we're literally living in such a novel time, and a lot of people have been dealing with a lot of hardships in terms of not
Yeah.
only physical problems but financial as well, and it's ultimately messing with their psyches. And I could also speak from experience that it's been really a tough burden to carry, especially in terms of mental health. So, Stevie, how can you say, because I know for a fact that for me, because being, younger, being in my teens so far, it's that you feel extremely invincible most of the times. It's like,
Uh-huh.
and that you don't even consider your mental health to a certain degree. It's like because you're young, you feel as though you're invincible, but at the same time, your mental health can deteriorate without you even noticing. So, Stevie, how is mental health important, especially in today's times?
I think mental health is very, very, very important at these times because, like you said, people are going through these hardships and people are using, I would say, unhealthy coping strategies to deal with some of the depression and anxiety that they may be experiencing. I can see like one of my nephews. He's in Louisiana. I had a chance to visit him, but I can just see how they feel so, like you said, invincible, where they don't feel like they have to wear a mask to protect themselves or do certain things to protect themselves. But I think but he's coping in a way, but I don't think it's necessarily healthy. You do have to mind the rules of course, like whatever the U.S. is saying right now as far as like social distancing and masking. But I think one of the vital ways to actually use healthy coping strategies is, yes, getting exercise is key. Acknowledging that you do feel a certain way. So if you do feel like that sadness, or you do feel like that worry, or is things going to get better, not being negligent to it, but owning it, and then finding healthy ways to cope with it. And I think it goes more than just the pandemic that has hit. It's more of like people actually dealing with some of the things that is going on with the protest, and they just see things dwindling down, getting worse. And when we lost Black Panther, I think that was a
Oh,
lot there
bro,
to
when I
take
heard
in.
them news, oh my
that
gosh, bro. Alright, but keep going though.
and, yeah, no, no. I have, so in my office, I can describe it to you guys. I can't show you, but I do have like a bunch of Marvel superheroes, and I gotta put him now in the center since we lost him. And it's like, it hurts. But I think with all this trauma and, like I said, depression that's going on and sadness, is key that we find healthy coping strategies, which is getting exercise, listening to music, turning off social media sometimes, because social media can be so drowning and
Whew.
draining
Yes,
to your
sir.
spirit because you you want to feed your spirit positivity. You want to feed your spirit something uplifting, and social media doesn't always do that. So even the news too. Sometimes you got to turn off the news. Sometimes you got to turn off social media, and you gotta find that thing that uplifts you. For me, it's been working out. So I have my morning routine every morning, 5:30. I get up in the morning. I actually read my Bible. That's what I do first,
I
and
like
then
that. I
I
like that.
actually get into the weight room, and I lift for about an hour. I get these workouts and I train. So it's things like that that kind of give you a brand new mindset to face a new day, because every day is something going on, and now we're dealing with these fires in Cali that's blocking out my
Right,
sunlight.
and I heard actually,
So
because you know how like Wish is in LA, and I've been hearing a lot that you guys are experiencing right now in California an extreme heat wave. It reached
yeah.
around 140, I believe, yesterday or these past few weeks has just been obnoxiously hot. So how do you think
Yeah.
how has that been affecting you, Stevie?
Uh, well, my AC I feel like I've been using it to the maximum capacity. But to be honest, it ain't really working, so I had to go buy a couple of fans, and it's literally been pools of sweat still in my house. It's crazy. But it hasn't stopped me from doing what I need to do.
Mm,
And I have AC in my Jeep, so wherever I'm rolling, I'm good. The heat hasn't affected me to that point where it's like inhibiting me from doing things, but
mm,
um I don't think it's productive for people to 1,000 people to be at the beaches right now either.
mm.
At the same time, when we're trying to get the pandemic under control, people are flocking to the beaches and pools and things like that. I still think you have to use that safety protocol. But I've still been able to stay safe and stay cool. So it hasn't done too much to me.
I like that. Definitely, you gotta bring out a little bit of positivity even in these negative times. You feel me? Every
Yeah.
gray cloud has a silver lining. And yo, Stevie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been stalking your Instagram. You feel me? And
Yeah.
I'm seeing on your photos that you've been posting a lot of God related posts, and it's quite apparent and transparent to me that you are a very spiritual person. So, how do you think
Yes.
spirituality ties in with mental health and your overall well being?
Oh man, I've never been asked that before because I always try to keep it separate from the work that I do and the
And
Christ, my Christ, and
if it's a
Jesus that I
big part
serve.
of you, yeah, if
So
it's a big part of you, you
yeah,
can't really separate the two. You feel me?
yeah, it is difficult because it's like when I'm in session, I still bring that positivity, the positive coping strategies and everything, but I never ever say you should serve Jesus Christ. I mean, Jesus Christ is my savior, but I never impose my religion on other people because it's a secular, therapeutic, setting. So and plus I'm under my job's rules. If I am in private practice is different. I can be a little bit open. I can be that Christian therapist that, I want to be that Christian counselor. But in a certain therapeutic settings, I'm not allowed to, which I respect, but it doesn't, on my page it's open for the public. And I'm gonna represent Christ in the way that I feel like is necessary in these times. Because we're under so much stress, so much pressure of still trying to provide, dealing with these hardships, that I feel like there's so much negativity pressed into us, so many things that are like a detrimental to our mental health. And so when I'm sending out things like I will prosper, I will do this, and I will have motivation, I will have determination to do what I need to do to succeed. And I think feeding that into people or people just scrolling by and seeing that, it can be uplifting. And I don't necessarily say like Jesus Christ in it, but that is the fuel to my fire to get that message out. And I think it's very, very important in these times.
Wow, that's so great because I was also kind of stalking you, trying to see who is this Stevie, who is this guy, and I just like looking at those posts really like lifted me as a person, just like I'm a Catholic and I look at it the same way, I'm just like
Mhm.
wow, this would help me get through the day. Like, let's say if I'm in a bad place and I read this, and I think it would help people, cope with whatever they're doing. And talking about coping mechanisms like you did before, right? I really wanted
Mm-hmm.
to talk about that because I know as teenagers, right, especially
Mm-hmm.
if you are not if you don't know uh, exactly what you're going through. Let's say you're in denial, you're neglecting how you feel, right? Because
Yeah.
um, in this day and age now, we, especially as men, we try to keep,
Mask.
yeah, we try to mask and we try to keep everything inside, all your feelings inside, and you don't really acknowledge them,
Mm-hmm.
because you might be seen as weak, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is what I've seen from particularly my friends and their friends for teenagers is that a lot of the coping mechanisms they kind of fall back on is drugs like
Yep.
smoking weed or drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think I asked a couple of my friends like why they do that, like why they smoke weed and why they get high or like why do they drink so much and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to like I was just curious, I didn't want to like really um like tell them not to do it or anything, like as their choice, and I can't help them if I can't help them, if they don't want
Yeah.
help. And I just asked them and they told me, well, because I'm sad or because I'm feeling a certain way, right? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's for me in my head, I'm like, wow, that's super dangerous because that can turn into addiction and all this stuff. And
Oh,
for
yep.
me as a person, I want to help them because they're my friends and I care for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how would I go about doing that, helping them without being such a like an annoying person that's like, hey, stop smoking weed. Like if you have the right reasons, I guess you can do it. Like I'm not against smoking weed or
Yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that. I'm just like, you got to do it for the right reasons. Like
I
if you go
always,
to a party,
yeah. So when I have teen clients like that, because I get those clients too that, come in, they smoke weed, they do this, they fornicate, do whatever they want to do to help ease their pain. And I always think about like, let's look at the facts. So let's look at science and see what science says about weed smoking and what it does to your lungs. Let's and the long-term effects. So I usually hit them with facts first, and I always give them an option. I'm like, what could you substitute instead of marijuana? Or what would you substitute instead of alcohol? Because I want to get their opinion. I want to get their feedback. I don't want to seem like I'm just going to provide you all the answers because I don't know the answers. I don't know what's going to help you cope yet. I want to know what you could do besides this.
Mhm.
And even if they're doing it every day, I was like, okay, let's see what it feels like to not do it every day. Let's cut back to, I don't know, let's start at 3 days a week or 4 days a week and see how you're feeling and see how you can manage. Maybe every time you think about smoking weed on the days that you are not supposed to, or the days that you chose not to smoke, let's see if we can do another healthy activity that'll help you cope. I don't know what it could be. It could be going to play basketball, or it could be maybe staying up playing 2K all night, which is which in this case it would be appropriate.
Right, right.
If it decreases the weed smoking. So, I present them with options, but I also get their feedback to see if they have an opinion about it. And if
Wow.
not, and if they don't have an opinion, um, then you can throw little suggestions in there. Like, you know what, let's binge off of not like smoking. Like, I want to support you. How can I support you? And I've done that for myself personally, but like with meat. So I've went vegetarian for a while just to see like, let me I don't because I don't smoke, I don't drink, I've never done any of that, right? So I do eat meat. I was just barbecued. So for a while in 2018, I was just no meat, no meat, no meat, no meat. And I was just seeing like how it is to give up something that feels natural to you because I have to know the experience of what it feels like to do without something that I like to do, which is eat meat. So, and I'm able to now give advice on kind of like how to pull away from things that may not always be in your best interests.
Mm,
I like that
okay.
aspect. I like that thinking that you have to know in some sort of manner how the other party is feeling instead of you just shoving down their throat your own personal moralities. It's like it's bad to drink or like it's like
Yeah.
bad to do these
But
things.
here's my problem, right? My problem is this: if you see this person and you know that they're having problems and they're coping with unhealthy substitutions, right?
Hmm.
Or doing all that stuff. Um, if you want to help them out, but they don't want to be helped, right? Because
Hmm.
they don't think it's a problem, because kids these
No.
days, especially um, my friends and all that, and their friends, the reason why they do it is to get out of that feeling, and they think it's okay,
Yeah.
so how would you go about helping them if they don't know it's okay? Because I feel like people who come to you as your clients, they know that or somebody in their family knows that they have a problem, and
Hmm.
they go to you or whatever to help with their mental state, right? How about people who don't know and think that it's okay?
I have had those clients too, where who just don't think weed is a problem, and I think for that, I usually get parents involved if the parents know,
Mhm.
just because I feel like they need support from someone who's closer to them to help them understand. Because I'm every time I'm in session, I'm the outsider. Like I'm just trying to throw interventions and hope they catch on.
Right.
But it's at some point they have to realize, because it's always one thing when you're in sessions, like you can't work harder than your client. Your client has to want to be there first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Your client has to understand of what they're doing to their body when they do certain things. Um, and then they have to want to stop. They have to want to end. And sometimes like everybody can't be saved, which is
Mhm.
hard for me to say, but it's like I haven't always been a success. I haven't always had that success story with some
Mhm.
kiddos because it's their environment. Sometimes they're a product of their environment and they don't know any other way until an intervention hits them um, outside of their community, where somebody comes and or their life is threatened in a certain way where they have to give up something. Um, and it's sad that it has to come to that harsh reality, but it does sometimes, where they, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why I should not do this. Um, because I mean, people don't like to think that marijuana is a gateway drug, and I've heard that from plenty of teens. They're like, ah, this is all I need, and then I've heard like they start trying other things to get that high.
Mm.
Yeah.
They'll start trying Xannies, or they'll take
Yeah.
ecstasy, and then it
True.
leads that, and then next thing you know, yeah, shrooms. Something they got out here called Hell's Bells, that they're just a flower that they would actually roll up and smoke, and it leads to a path of like hurting yourself more than you know, because you're trying to still like drown out those feelings of sadness, depression,
Mm.
which it hurts. And some kids are not always willing to explore that, and that's why I think in session is so important, that what I do is create a rapport more so than anything,
Hmm.
because these kids don't want to be immediately told what they should and should not do. So rapport has always been key for me, like when working with these kids who do substances, um, and kind of just taking them away and having them not talk about it yet. um, and it usually helps a little bit and they can decrease, but if they still have the access, and they still are in that environment where everybody else is doing it, it's tough to put them away, because sessions is only one day a week, right? And then you got to come back to your therapist and be like, yo, I kind of smoked all week right after session. So it's like, and then, it's like, it's okay. You can't say it's okay. You can't say like, just come on in. Let's talk about it. What led to this? What brought up this smoking again? So, I mean, it's tough, especially it's all around. When you look at social media and you listen to some of the music and the lyrics, it's just like, man, why aren't I doing this? I should be doing this. And I think that's one of the main things, and it's the environment. Like you're around people that may be older than you, or maybe people who just have a connect, and you're stuck. You don't know how to escape. Um, and a therapist, yes, can only do so much, but I mean, I can. what I try to do is also provide resources. The last thing I want to do is ever get a kid in a facility, because I just don't think that would be beneficial, because once they get out, then they go back to their same environment.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would suggest more so intensive services, or having somebody who's in the area like more responsible and kind of helping them, and keeping track of, like, their habits. So I know I just said a whole lot.
No, it's all
Did I
good. You
even answer
good?
the question?
No, you did. You did. It's great. You're great. Wow.
So
No,
just
that it means a lot because now I feel like I have some tools in my belt to um, help out my friends who maybe don't want to be helped or maybe doesn't acknowledge the fact that they do need help. So
Hmm.
thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
yeah, and Stevie, just going back to what you said earlier about going into these uh, drugs such as weed and just ultimately using it to like drown these negative emotions, and going back to also what Farrell said about you know as men we hold the standards of hiding emotions and hiding all of these things so that other people won't
Hmm.
see us as weak. And the question that's formulating inside my mind, it's kind of like, for example, you have a problem in your life, and say that problem is kind of like this monster that's in your room, and instead of fighting this monster, or addressing the problem, you go out and do all these things that doesn't relate with fighting the monster, and just ultimately turning off the lights. I believe I asked this already to Sean Lewis in our Wish interview. It's like, how can we encourage people to fight their dragons? So, um, Stevie, what is the value of fighting your monsters and addressing your problem, and how do we get to that?
I think it starts with understanding that there is a monster, um, and that it resolving it cannot end with um, turning off the light. I think the most important thing you can do is keep the light on and facing it head on. But the thing is, people can't do that by themselves. They have to be able to have someone that they can trust, someone that they can like have a foundation with, that they could actually talk to about what's under the bed, because usually the monsters is under the bed, right? So I think the first thing you do is have to understand that there is a monster, have somebody to talk to, and then you begin to dive in some of the emotions that are behind it. So how does this monster make you feel? Does it make you feel scared? Or do you feel sad when a monster comes? Do you feel angry when a monster comes? Um, and try to discover those feelings, and then discover together what you can do to alleviate some of those emotions,
Hmm.
because the emotions leads to reckless behavior. Negative emotions can lead to reckless behaviors. So when you see someone who may be um, traumatized in a certain way, that they're going to use their survival brain, which is the lower part of their brain, to actually respond to people without thinking. So, say you grew up in a neighborhood where your mom may be on drugs, your mom kind of puts you in charge of your younger brother,
Hmm.
and there's no food to eat most of the time at home. And now you're in this survival state of mind when you get to school. And the first thing you do when a teacher says, I need you to stop talking to class, your response is to yell at the teacher, start
Oh,
screaming at this
for real,
teacher,
that's me.
start screaming at this teacher, because you are in survival state of mind, and you don't know how to respond, because you inherited so much pain and hurt, and this teacher don't know anything about you. They don't know why you're flipping out. They don't know
Hmm.
any of these things, and this kind of leads to like the whole trauma informed piece that I'm a part of. But because of that, your behaviors is all over the place. Your mind state is all over the place and you don't know how to respond. And I think learning to create that relationship piece, that foundation of someone who supports you and trusts you, helps decrease that survive you being in that survival state
Mm.
and you being able to respond coherently and say, okay, I can stop talking. Like what we call it in the trauma informed world is having your window of tolerance. Most people have a window of tolerance. I wish I could show you a chart right now. Most people have a window of tolerance that is like half full. But people and kids who, or teenagers who have a higher window of tolerance, it's like literally near the top of a window. So if you're looking at a window, you can see it where it's like it's pretty much almost filled up to the top. So any room for error where somebody comes at them wrong, they're reacting in a negative response because of their window of tolerance is so high or
Mm.
so low. Yeah, they don't have a they don't know how to respond. And so it's the same thing with battling those monsters. Like you have to be able to decrease you have to build relationship and then you have to decrease them being in that survival state. And that goes into a whole of reprocessing and recreating certain neurotransmitters in their brain that responds negatively to people who are who come at you harsh or use a certain tone of voice. So
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of the things I got from your answer was a you gotta know and address the fact that there is a monster, and also
Hmm.
you also kind of touched on the topic of talking to yourself and knowing what it is that the monster makes you feel. And
Hmm.
I remember a conversation that I've had with a friend. She was basically in a spiral and a kind of resonating problem where she keeps falling and getting into a toxic relationship. And I just suggested to her, the ultimate suggestion that I gave her was basically, you gotta know yourself. You gotta know how these, or what is it about yourself that attracts you to these types of people. And
Hmm.
you got to know, what is it about me that makes me like them? Is there something wrong with me? What's right about me that I, or what is it about me that I want to correct, and stuff like that. So I'm a huge proponent, Stevie, of talking to yourself and knowing what it is that you ultimately want. And she basically said to me that, oh, that's too much work. I gotta do this. I gotta do
Okay.
this every time. And then I basically told her, well, if you don't do this, I'd rather you spend 6 or 30 minutes of talking to yourself and knowing what you want, instead of spending an entire lifetime of going back and forth with these problems and not knowing what it is that you want. So Stevie, back me up with this one. Why is it that you have to know yourself? And
I think
why is talking to
I think
yourself and knowing yourself to the, to the best of your ability, an important aspect of mental health?
I think knowing yourself is very, very, very important when it comes to relationships. I think you have to know what you can handle and what you can handle and what you can tolerate and what you won't tolerate. And I think well, I don't want to speak on my early 20s because that was a different lifestyle for Stevie when it came to relationships. But it was I think oh man, this is a tough one just because it depends what type of mind state she's in right now. Like what does she want? Does she want to just have fun? Or does she want to just
She
does
doesn't.
she
That's the
want something
thing. She
serious?
doesn't know what she wants.
Oh, well then that's easy. She needs pretty much to sit down and just write out a list of things of what she needs in a man. And I think through that you can see what you want and then what's available and then you can kind of compare lists. But have somebody that check off your boxes. I think that's key. If you want somebody who's faithful, kind of talk to them, research. You don't have to research them like you got to research my Instagram, but kind of like gain an understanding of like what their past relationships were like before you just jump into something immediately. Me, like I've never really dated over 3 months. Well, I never really made anything official until 3 months, just because I want to know this person before I actually get into something serious. But even with my wife now, we dated literally for 4 years because I had to know for sure. Like, yo, I want to know you like inside and out, and what is this all about, or if this is meant to be. I mean, it don't have to take that long, but that was just me. But it's good to make yourself a checklist to kind of find out what you want, and then make a checklist of who you are and how does that actually coincide with what you want. Because who you are may not be what you need. You may need somebody who is a little bit different from you, a little bit on the um, I don't know, adventurous side if you like to be reserved, or if you need somebody who can match your adventurous side if you are adventurous, or she and their person has to be adventurous. Or they like to play video games, they don't like to play video games. I mean, you got to think about all these different type of things when you get into a relationship. And honestly, I don't know how old she is and if she wants something serious. But if she does want something serious, I think it'll be very, very important to just sit down and just make a list. Make a list of what you want and make a list of who you are, your characteristics. You know when you're moody, you know what makes you upset, all your nonverbal cues that you can give a person. You know all that stuff. So write that stuff down, make a list, and then I would say also write down what you want, and then I would separate that list and then write down what you need in a person. What is something that you need from that person? Do you need a person to be affectionate? Because affection is I heard sometimes men just don't have it.
Ooh,
I
tough.
don't know. I don't know. Men just don't have affection. Don't know how to be affectionate. Like they don't think about holding hands or just little hugs here and there. It always has to jump into some immediate intimate things instead of like the whole affectionate part. Like if you need somebody affectionate that will go on walks with you and hold your hand through the mall, like write that down. You know what you need.
Mm,
You know what you want. So it's like I'd say separate the wants from the needs, and then
Yeah.
separate on that separate list. Yeah,
And I feel. Oh
write
wait, hold
write
up,
who you are.
hold up. Before Farrell continues with his question, I want to just add to that point. Of course, yeah, you definitely gotta know what you want, but also I feel as though you gotta also know what it is that you're willing to give up to get that. Because I feel as though
Mm,
that's something people don't take into consideration. It's like it's all about me. It's all about
the
what I want.
sacrifice.
But it's like
so about the
you're
opportunity
missing.
cost.
Yeah, it's like you have to take into consideration the second part of that equation, which is what is it that you're willing to give up to get what you want. And I've
Hmm.
been because I know Farrell knows this. I've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson lately. It's like um I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson. Are you?
Me or
Yeah,
Farrell?
yeah, you, Stevie.
Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. I haven't listened to that one.
Yeah, well, he's a clinical psychologist, and his basic thing is like to find your meaning and stuff like that. But basically, what he says is
Hmm.
like you gotta know what you want, but at the same time, an important aspect to that equation is like you gotta know what you're willing to give up, and what part of you that is dead wood that you're willing to like burn off, that
Hmm.
so that you're left with the best parts of yourself in order to get a better or the best relationship that you could possibly get, because you can't have a great relationship if you're not at your
Not willing
best
to
state.
sacrifice.
Yeah,
Mm.
so yeah, that's my
That's
that's
a
my take.
very good point.
That is
Yeah,
great job.
but what I really liked about what you said was um just the whole point of sitting down and talking with this one person and writing things down. I already talked about this about writing stuff down because a lot of the times, especially in our generation now, I feel like especially through my experiences and my friends' experiences and my friends' friends, I mean,
Yeah.
experiences, basically what they've experienced is they have expectations when trying to go into something, right? They have
Hmm.
these expectations of somebody else, but they don't tell them, right? And they
Exactly.
don't write them down because when it comes to um when they get into a relationship and basically once everything is done and you guys made it official, you guys don't know what to expect from each other because all that lovey-dovey stuff before, that was just to get, acquainted with the person, to see if that, if you're ready to to go into something. And then once you're in
Mm.
something, it's not like the lovey-dovey anymore. It's not the
Nah,
same. It's not the same. It's more,
not at all.
yeah, it's a different ball game. And I think you know a lot more about that, because, congratulations again, you got married. And can
Hmm.
you talk a little bit about that, like the expectations, and having to sit down and writing stuff down and talking to this person, communication.
Yeah, definitely. So I think what me and my wife did that was so important, and I wish I can give you guys a name of this workbook that we did. But we did a workbook. It was a Christian workbook that allowed us to actually list our expectations of our partner. So we did it together one night a week before getting married. And it has so many different chapters on like communication, conflict, finances, and having expectations of your partner. Even things like sexual topics, like how does this work in a marriage? And I think that's important to look at, especially like if you really considering a person serious. Because I've been in a lot of non-serious relationships, so I didn't
Mm-hmm.
ever take it this far, where it was like I was trying to write things down all the time. Because I think it's a maturity thing once you get to a certain level of trying to figure out, exactly what you want. So you date a few people, you find
Mm-hmm.
out, okay, I can't do that. I can't not do that at all. You're wild. So yeah, I can't be a part of that lifestyle. So I mean, it takes a lot to find out, not only just by writing it down, but you do have to experience certain things too, just to find out, when she gets mad, she just totally shuts off. She doesn't communicate at all. And some things like that you can't tolerate. You don't want to tolerate. Like, if you're mad, let me know, so that, because men are clueless. I always tell that. I always
Yes.
tell that to every girl. I
Word.
always say,
Word.
men are clueless to how you are feeling. You have to tell me. And I told my wife that too. I was like, you have to tell me when you feeling irritated by me playing, I don't know, Days Gone all the time when I get home from work. Like, how does this make you feel? Or do you want to watch Love It or List It? I don't know, because that's one of the shows that she likes. So it's like, you have to tell me these things, because I can have a feeling because I'm a therapist, but
Mhm.
most men don't. So you have to communicate and use your words. And if you want a person that communicates, then that should be an expectation that should be discussed in a serious relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Communication kind of comes when it's a fling, because you guys are texting all the time. You're having those
Mhm.
to until 5 a.m. conversations,
Oh
and
Oh.
God.
the whole like, yeah, I like that, I like that. So what were you like in middle school? Yeah, that those conversations are going to happen, within the 3 months, the 5 months that you guys are dating. But and then next thing you know, the 6 month comes and you're like, oh well, I moved on. So I say,
Mm.
when
Tough.
you're looking for a serious relationship, definitely create those lists.
Mm-hmm.
um
Okay.
yeah, because that's key.
So my question now is, you say to create it, but what has, like, have you seen the advantages of it yet? Like, what has it done to your, um, I guess, like the newlywed stuff? Like, how is it, how's
How's
it
it
like
being a
become a,
newlywed?
well, how has that, the workbook, helped you in your newly found marriage? Is what I'm trying to say.
I think it helped more with her her expectations of me and my expectations of her.
Okay.
Because I don't put a for me personally, I don't put a lot of expectations on my wife. Not so much, especially, and we got married during a pandemic, so it's a weird time. So I don't really have many expectations of her.
Hmm.
But I know she has expectations of me. But what she does do, because she feels like I do like subliminally have expectations of her, like cleaning the house and that house being clean. And that's perfectly fine. But I can clean as well. I can help you out, but she wants to do that.
Her
Um,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I let her take care of home. I take care of more of the financial, and I think that's her expectation of me is to make sure that, bills are being paid, things
Mm.
are being taken care of financially. The only thing she ever asked me to do is take out the trash. Literally. And you know what? I come to me in about 3 years and I can tell you if there's any more expectation,
Yeah.
because I mean
Well, I'll
it's
get you
still
back
all
on
new.
that.
And we just moved in together. So that hasn't been that's this is a whole new
Oh
exploration
yeah,
of me
that's
actually living with somebody and constantly being around that person. So
mm,
it's definitely a different type of lifestyle because you have to be mindful and you do have to sacrifice for sure.
yeah, because
But
sorry.
go ahead.
Basically, like, especially when you're moving to somebody with somebody new, um you know uh you know that person you're going to date and all this stuff, and maybe you guys, like, hung out, slept over, something like
Hmm.
that. But being with that person 24/7 is the amount of space that you guys need, between each other, is,
Yeah,
is gonna be is gonna be hard over there.
yeah.
But what I'm really, like, trying to, like, emphasize right now is what you said about how, men are clueless, and
Hmm.
women, they just, for me and my experiences, they just, when I ask them, like, I'm clueless, like, I don't know what you're feeling, you have to tell me, right? They always
Yeah.
tell me, like, well, you just have to know. I'm like, how
How
do
do
you
you
do that?
know?
Word.
You, that's tough because you just don't know because
Exactly.
you just don't. And as uh, I think some things that men can do is just check in every, I don't know, so often. I guess not. You can check in every day, definitely. I mean,
Mm.
it's my wife, so I always ask her how she's feeling every morning. How did you sleep? So I can ask her those questions. But when you're dating, sometimes it can be, hey, I'm just checking in on you. How you doing? How you feeling? It can be something that simple to just kind of get an idea of how they're feeling. And I feel like men can know by long or short text messages as well. He's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then we're like, you know what happened today? Let me tell you what happened. Such and such. Because women naturally use more words in a day than men, so you can tell,
That's a
like, if
fact.
what type of mood are you? Are you upset? Did something happen to you today? If it's a short text, like, it's okay. When you ready to talk, we can talk. I'm here. I think sending those type of messages can actually help them feel a little bit more comforted than you just saying, "Okay, cool. I'm glad you good." And then that's it. Like, girls want you to dive, women want you to dive deeper. I think, to find out what's going on with them emotionally. Um, that's just what I've noticed and experienced just in dating and then being married. So, um, yeah, they want you to dive a little bit deeper.
Okay. Okay.
But
Thanks for that.
yeah, no problem. But I think definitely hitting on the communication piece of the book, because one thing I would do sometimes, and I'll do it unconsciously, like, because I get so used to my wife just talking, and
Uh-huh.
I've noticed, like, I will be texting and I'll be kind of just giving one word answers as I'm texting, or if I'm playing a game on my phone, I just giving one word instead of giving her my undivided attention.
Mm. Mm.
And I think that has caused, like, some irritation from her. I ain't gonna say she's been blown out mad, like, trying to come at me with some crazy stuff, but I've noticed, like, that could bring about an irritation. So
Mm.
I've been mindful of, like, being there when you're communicating or she's communicating, just being there, like, totally being there, and setting aside the phone, wait, letting that text message wait, putting that game on pause to actually see what she's saying and hear what she's saying. That eye contact. So yeah,
Actively listening. Yeah.
Mm.
there it is.
Yeah.
Actively listening.
And also, I just wanted to. Do you have a question, Farrell? Because I just wanted to.
No, no, I don't. No, go ahead.
Because I'm finna stray away from the topic of relationships real quick, because I
Okay.
wanted to ask, is there such thing as toxic positivity? Because I feel as though, we're
Mm.
Mm.
indoctrinated to some extent of this sort of anything can become positive as long as you have a positive mindset. So I'm gonna give an extreme example. For example, it's like,
Yeah.
for you like lost your dog, or for example you just lost a loved one, and a lot of the people will tell you, hey, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be, you just gotta put your chin up and have a positive mindset. But at the same time, it's like, I can't have a positive mindset. I'm not in the space where I can have a positive mindset. And
Hmm.
it's I feel as though that's kind of tantamount to saying you're turning off the lights at the same time and filling your room with glitters and, putting bedazzles upon every pillow sheet instead of actually cleaning your room and acknowledging that your room is, you're not in a positive space right now. So what's your thoughts
Yeah.
on toxic positivity?
I like that term. I think I haven't been too familiar with toxic positivity, but I understand that people do need time to recharge and people need time to grieve. I don't think, well, recently, we lost a dear friend to the family. And I noticed like this lady, when she came, it was my mom's friend. So this lady came to talk to her. She tried to give what you say, quote unquote, toxic positivity. Well, you know where he's at, he's in heaven, da, 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 but that's not
Mm,
what people always need to hear in the moment of grieving or dealing with a stressful situation. I
mhm,
think sometimes people need to bask in what they're feeling.
mhm,
And sometimes it's better to say nothing and just allow that person to vent and express whatever they are feeling in that moment and let them get it out. Let them just get out all of that energy that is so revolving around that issue. Because it's okay to feel sad and angry and scared. To be in that moment is okay. Long as you don't bask in it for over 6 months, like then it becomes more of an issue where you're dealing with something a little bit more. But
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, it's okay to feel those type of feelings. We're human. We are
mhm.
allowed to. We have a right to. Because
Yeah.
nobody's perfect on this earth. And I don't think the immediate motivational pick me up speech would work in those situations.
Mm,
So I think sometimes just letting people vent, letting people get it out, any format that they choose to is totally okay. You can just come in my office and here's a pillow. You can scream into it all that you need to because you just lost your dog. You just lost your parent. You've been through a traumatic situation, and it's okay. I'm not gonna tell you what you should do in this moment. I'm not. I don't have that right to
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know what you've been through or what you're feeling or experiencing right now.
Word.
So, um, in those moments, I allow people to vent and allow people to get it out, allow people to cry. Here's a tissue box. This is my job for an hour. I'm gonna give you the tissue box and just let you say everything that you need to say. And then when you're ready to talk about it, and if you're ready to come up with some things, I'm gonna let you move at your own time
Mm,
because you can't dictate those situations as a therapist. You just can't.
mhm.
You have to let people feel.
I'm one of those people who basically just well first I like what you said about how sometimes because we are all human, we have the right to feel an array of different emotions. We can't all just be happy every freaking time. I
Exactly.
feel like that's just like an idealization, and it's a false idealization of
Hmm.
what you being happy is.
Hmm.
um so basically, uh, for me, I really am like just so bad at comforting people. I don't know what to do, and
Hmm.
because I've read like self help books, and it's helped me a lot, right?
Yeah.
Um, I try to impose that on them. I try to be like, hey, like everything's gonna be okay and this and that, right? And
Yeah.
like, I try to give them advice, but sometimes people just want to sit down and just tell you their problems without you saying anything, and that's something
Exactly.
that I really have to learn because it's just like, uh,
Because I can see like you're naturally a helper. You want to help. You hate to see people
Yeah,
in a mood where it's like going to drain your mood. But
word. I
it's
hate
like
that.
exactly because I had that problem too. So it's like I think sometimes you just have to just draw a line. Where it's like I don't want to enter to this zone until you allow me to come in.
Right.
But how can I help you in this process? And I think most people kind of give you a signal, maybe just talking it out and letting them know it's like I just can't get over. And what does that feel like? Kind of just using those open-ended questions to kind of dive in a little bit. But for the most part, I think just drawing that line and just being there, literally being there, just your body in the same place with theirs. They don't want to be alone. And I think just being there is so, so therapeutic. People don't realize
Mm,
just being there is just their most therapeutic piece you can use is yourself,
right. Just
your
having
words. So,
just having somebody to vent to and not
hmm
being alone with, because I feel like what a lot of people are going through when they feel something is that they have to feel it alone.
yeah,
And loneliness is one of like the leading causes of depression and like suicide and all that stuff.
hmm
And it's just like being there for that person, just just saying I'm here for you and saying like I'm listening, or like something they don't usually hear every day, and
hmm
actually being there and actually listening to that person, actively
yeah,
listening to that person, is just one of the best ways to just help them out. You don't
yeah.
have to give them any advice or anything, right? You just gotta
No,
sit there and listen. Yep.
mm-mm. There's no advice to be given in that moment. No,
Hmm.
I think you're right. Just being there and
And
saying,
wow, I feel like this talk has been extremely useful, especially in these times where we've been talking about mental health, and
This talk was amazing.
yeah, exactly. It gave me like this needed paradigm shift, especially when it came to relationships and how to better know yourself. It's better first off to know what you want, and instead of like, if you really want a serious relationship, it's like you got to know what you want first. You got to know yourself first before you actually try to impose that upon someone else, which is extremely useful and beneficial, especially to me and like to the youth. And yeah, because
yeah,
if only I had this talk when I was younger, when I was just like lost, because I know Farrel knows that I've been in an extreme 2 year period of toxic relationship, and I wish I would have had I wish I would have such counseling as this. But yeah, to wrap this up in just for a last note, what advice would you give to the youth, especially now in today's time, in order to have a better well-being in terms of their mental health?
um, I think the first thing I would tell people is, especially our youth, I would say analyze your support system
Mm,
and see who has your back. See who can be that foundation for you for someone to talk to, because it may not necessarily always be your parents. Your parents could be, so demanding and judgmental at the time. Find a safe space where you'll be able to express your feelings, who you are, without any type of judgment. And I
Mm.
think that's the first step that people can do in these times. Whether you connect through Zoom, through any format, streaming format, like any way you can connect, make sure you can do that and connect to somebody who you feel like you can put your trust in. I think a support system is very, 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 very important through these times because I mean, it's a pandemic and you need somebody who is going to be able to have your back, I think, in these times. And I think just having that whole social aspect is in general is key. Because right now people can feel alone, especially a lot of kids, they can connect with friends like in person as they would. So I think keeping your circle like while you can is very important, even if it's just through Zoom or house party or however you do it. So yeah.
Right.
Um
Great
yeah.
advice. Thank you so much, Stevie, once again for hopping on to the podcast. You feel me? Yeah, this has been once again a great talk. Thanks as well, Farrel, for being here again because you haven't been here in a while.
I
I've been busy, man.
That's all good. It's all
understand
good.
busy.
Yeah, man. And I know, speaking of busy, we know that you are a busy man, Stevie. So we're not gonna keep you hostage here anymore. But yeah.
Awesome.
So once again, thank you so much for hopping on. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up
No.
for this episode. Thank you for our listeners for hopping on and staying with us. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again, Stevie.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye.
I'm so broken. I wear it on my face, but somehow you're still on my mind. Am I crazy for staying behind?